Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much indeed for coming to support our book, Sawdust, and in effect for coming to support this event and what turns out to be a truly great cause. I just want to say straight away, thank you, Deb, for being such a brave woman. Shall I make that lady? And that is Deb over there. Just sitting over there for anybody who doesn't know her. And this book is about her memoir, and without it, it couldn't exist. When I first got to know Deb, it would be at social events, in fact, sort of events like this. And but it would be my family and her family, and we would all be together. It was all smiley and intimate and very warm. And then Deb and I decided to go ahead with this project. And so I went out to her little house there in Flinders View in Ipswich, but for the first time it was just Deb, me, and the tape recorder. And from experience I knew that there was going to be quite a bit of tension, and that there was going to have to be a lot of ice that was broken. But what I wasn't expecting, and what I saw coming through Deb's face and very strongly through her eyes, is something that only those who have been very close to abuse or who have been abused themselves will recognize. And that was these questions: are you going to betray me, and can I trust you? They are questions that people who have been in this situation have to live with for the rest of their lives. It is the cross they have to bear. For those who have grown up in abusive situations, whether it be at home or in institutions, there are two ways that they can react. The one is they can put themselves in the closet, they can lock the door and throw away the key, and in my opinion that is a very brave way. But it is also very stoic, it is very hard, and it is very lonely. Or they can be both strong and brave and do it the way Deb has done it, and that has come out publicly. And by doing that, they show all those silent people that they're actually members of unfortunately, a very large club, and they are not alone. And also, with some luck, they can actually get some help by coming out and making these matters public. There are also consequences when you make these things public. And one of those consequences are that for the first time, the immediate family, as well as very close friends, and sometimes a much wider community of people, know who the perpetrator is. And to me, that is exactly how it should be. The perpetrators should be outed, they should be named, and society should react by making them take full and absolute responsibility for what they have done, either by rehabilitative means, which I think John was kind of intimating, or if necessary, by punitive means. There's also another outcome, and this one to me is very unfortunate and still exists in our liberal, humanistic age, and that is that the victim gets tarred and feathered with the same brush as the perpetrator. And not just the victim, sometimes the family around the victim feel as though society is looking at them as though they are somehow dirtied or dirtied by and seen as part of this very dirty process. And to me, that is absolutely not on. It is an absolutely a no. Those people, those victims have no cross to bear, are totally not guilty. But as you'll find from a book like Sawdust, and it's one that tries to be honest about these things, the relationships in which abuse occurs are often very grey areas. They're actually areas in which there's love, there's respect, there's family happinesses, and then these things suddenly start getting broken down. It is not the way the newspapers present them, black and white, evil and innocent. No, it's not like that. But because of that, in no way should the victim ever be held responsible for what they have done They were only ever too young and too intellectually irresponsible to know exactly what they were doing. They should only ever receive love, support, and where they can, get help and guidance. And when I look at Deb and her little immediate family of 3 children, that is exactly what I see her getting. From them, that she gets absolute unconditional love and support. And to this extent, I want to especially mention her eldest daughter, known in the book as Sarah. And Sarah, who's also my physiotherapist, if anybody needs a good physiotherapist. Thank you, Sarah, for pushing Mum to tell her story, to get that story out of her, not only just to your family, but eventually to bring it out in print, and so that we can have this book that is published today for many, many people to read and hopefully learn by. But if there's one reason that you read this book alone, it is to read the last 1.5 pages of this book, which is known as Postscript from a Daughter. They are 1.5 pages of the most poignant and emotive text that I think I have, and honest, that I think I have ever written. They encapsulate the whole feeling of the book, and more particularly, they speak about what it's like to be close to somebody who's been in an abusive situation, and to suddenly see the person that you have loved and respected outed as a perpetrator. As I got to know Deb better, and as the trust was built, I found somebody who wasn't just an ordinary person, and I was happy to find that she was an ordinary person as well, but she was more than that. She was bubbly, lively, positive, somebody who could actually laugh at some of the darkest moments of her life and some of the very awkward situations in which she reacted to things that people would be gobsmacked at. And I've always absolutely admired that. And beyond that, and this I think is the major message of this book, is Deb has never ever seen herself as a victim and never ever wants to see herself as a victim. So I'm just going to hand you over now to this very brave lady, Deb, who's going to read to you from her story. So my hero, Deb.
Well, hello everyone. I don't think I really have to say very much now. Barry said it all, so that's a relief actually. I had a lot written down and I'm known to waffle on a little bit, so you'll be relieved to know that I'm not going to be doing that today. I just did want to say one thing though. The reason I chose to put this story in print was to bring awareness about this injustice to the young and even not so young. There are people that are older that this can happen to as well. So you don't necessarily have to be a baby or a teenager as well. This can happen too. So, and thank you Emily for always supporting me and being so beautiful, and the rest of my family. My auntie's come all the way from Rocky and all my friends here as well. I don't think I will really read too much from my pieces of paper here, other than to say that I advocate counselling. It is so important. I myself do not have counselling until I was about 30, and let me tell you, it's a roller coaster of a ride actually. Like you think you've got it nailed, and then something happens where you go down a bit of a dive again. But let me say, counselling can help you find the light and enable you to heal and move forward and support the people around you. And be vigilant, please, of your young ones. Our children can sometimes be put in situations that you think are safe. Just be vigilant, be careful, trust, but not be too trusting, okay? So make sure you've got open eyes, open hearts, and go forward. I'm just going to read a little bit from the book. Excuse me, I'm very nervous as per usual. Okay, here we go. Excuse me if I don't look up all the time. Okay, when I was told by the doctors that my father had terminal brain cancer, I cried. The tears just rolled. I could not hold them back. Although in retrospect, when I think about it now, that he had brain cancer was maybe some divine justice, some poetically fair end to the brain that had diseased us all those around him. By the time he was flown back from Annandale, he was so weak, this one big strapping man, this wood of my life, this tough, hand-hardened man who as a boy ran the Olympic torch through Gladstone. Now he had absolutely no control over his body. Dad's one regret was that he never got to see his father's grave, never got to see the tomb of the father who he grew up without. The father who served his country and died a hero, but left everyone's life inextricably changed behind him. The least I could do on his deathbed was to forgive him. It was an opportunity that I would never be able to visit again. Pressing all his strength through his cracked lips, excuse me, I've got to do this with my finger, I can't seem to see the words otherwise. Pressing all his strength through his cracked lips, his tongue flicked not against the gap between his front teeth in the old menacing bird-like way, but flicking nervously right through almost invisible lips. He said to me one day, "I know, Deb, I know I hurt you. I did some terrible things, and I'm sorry." It was like the court in his head had finally ruled against him, and he accepted the judgment. I felt immense pity for him, pity that in his life he had got it so wrong, pity that he had turned other people's lives upside down, and did not even acknowledge his logic may have been asked about face. I think in the end, though, to be perfectly honest with myself, I felt pity for him because in his now dull, cancer-riddled eyes, much as I should have hated those eyes, much as I should have passionately resented the sick, white tongue that struggled to breathe to me now, I saw despite everything, despite the overseering harm he had done, he only ever meant to love me. In his head, that remained true. Of course it upsets me still, this strange love, but in my heart I know he loved me. He did. It was conditional. It was a sick love. I wanted to believe it though, I wanted to. What little girl who grew up believing in the man that was the central wood structure of her entire life, whose height was capable of reaching the sun, would not want to believe that? He was no danger to anyone on earth now. The damage had been done. The pragmatist, forever the practical-minded soul. I knew there was nothing I could do about it. It was time for forgiveness and healing. I now know many may see this kind of pity, this softness of approach as a weakness, but I do not. I see it as a strength for all my lack of schooling, all my torrid, mixed-up experiences of growing up. That is my biggest lesson in life. Dad could die with his darkness and lies, but I had to let it go. I had to continue to grow. I'm losing my place, I'm sorry. When I think about it, rushing quickly over my life to those times, I see two hard-working people, my parents, Mum and Dad, so busy trying to eke out a living and a bit of enjoyment from life that they spent no time on the three things that they needed to do most in life, which was to educate, love, and bring up a family happily. Probably not unlike many other parents, everything was in effect experimental with them because they did not know what they were doing. And in a sense, that is all I can say in their favour. They had a deep lack of knowledge, a lack of everyday familiar know-how, and it did not make it easy for us. I shiver when I think about it. Dad's crazy, screwed-up way of seeing things, the stubborn, heavy-handed axis he rotated on, so far removed from the modern universe that he was close to a Neanderthal man. Mum, washed out, bloated, and overworked with chores. A woman who saw but did not want to see. This is my siren call, my human scream, because I know the truth, and the worst part of it is that to outsiders we looked, at least most of the time, like one big happy family. Grandfathers, grandmothers, daughters, son-in-laws, happy grandchildren. But it was a facade. What a bloody facade. I know from the inside now, we human beings put up that veneer, and as in the case of my family, when we should be wearing the truth on our foreheads like banners for the world to see, we keep it hidden. Hidden like birds hide the hatchlings in the nest. But the truth is this, if I had the choice all over again for all Dad's so-called love and good intentions, I would never want to live through this again. Sometimes I'm still not sure how I survived. I sit in my Flinders View home in Ipswich, take out a picture of their wedding day, of my mum and Dad's great day of coming together as one, and look over it for the signs of love, for the signs of my beginnings. On my father, standing there like a solid upright tree, in his immaculate dark suit, I see a rebellious James Dean smile. I see a man a little reticent, yet confidently looking out of the photo. He is tall, obviously young, dashing, standing straighter with more bravado than a switchy stick. Mum beside him is smiling more widely than he is in fact showing white straight teeth and a round gushing face. She has the petite little body that is clothed in fairy tale white veils and virginal white dress. I see the future for a moment. While I am left to fend for myself in the company of rum-sodden, music-thumping adults, she will blow up 10 times her size and run around in a full-body plastic suit, trying to lose weight. I suppose it is not surprising, barely reaching up to Dad's unbending shoulders, that she carries an uncertainty in her rosy cheeks and even in her well-known come-on lips and beguiling brown eyes. I see the uncertainty, especially in the bloated smile. It is like her lips and teeth are trapped. It is a smile she may never wear again. In her daring eyes, she wants to be an optimist, desperately wants life to work out, wants to ride away as in a fairy tale carriage from the fights and the drunkenness and the broken pieces of her own upbringing. In that moment of the photo is a belief that her parents' ill fortune will not visit upon her or her children. They both look like that, Mum and Dad, untouchable, ready to love and ready to go out to the world. What is really sick about the photo is that Dad has white gloves, perhaps almost a sign that one glove is on and one is off. The one white gloved hand is holding the other empty glove. A real gentleman. This is no country bumpkin. This is a man of honour. The camera cannot see the warnings, the duplicity, the hands behind the gloves. Next to his naked, barely visible hand, I see Mum's whiter than white dress, and already it somehow looks soaked in the sanguine plots of the future. One day his hands will hold her like that, strangling. One day he will hold us like that. The hands naked, the gloves given back to the high top or buried in the paddock. I see children in the linen of Mum's dress, full of hope yet struggling to breathe. Mum wears us on that expansive tight dress, and yet she has not even had children yet. But it is in those gloves, those white gloves of Dad's, which really get to me. The perfect henchman to his lady. I see those gloves around my neck, pulling my spine down into all that is old and second-hand and dilapidated in our back paddock. Old-fashioned and dated now, the white gloves carry the promise of integrity, of valour, of decency, and yet they will strip me of mine. Already, just hanging at his sides without lifting a finger, I can see, feel the damage those hands will do. Yes, the gloves will come off as soon as the ceremony is over. The giant hands that they hide will saw not only wood but children. It is hard to believe a marriage that looks like this can really be made in a witch's stew. It is Father Christmas, a tooth fairy illusion we all want to abide by. It is the innocence we wear on our rouged cheeks and the ceremony put on for the gifts. Studying that picture, I see a kind of hopefulness sitting in Dad's high-cut cheekbones, that they too have an idea what lies ahead. Behind this gentleman and his lady, behind Mum and Dad, there are massively long-hanging curtains. They hang as in a grand theatre, partly open, as though eagerly yet unable to reveal what's inside. And now, back at the hospital, in the world of darkness, I see myself crying, hearing a voice full of cancer, eyes like old Jack Frost, confessing, I did some terrible things. I know. I wish I could have done things better. There is no retort I can give to this, other than to brush my hand over his cold forehead and tell him to rest. That it is time to become. The solid wood that stood at the centre of our universe, at the centre of my life, has been felled. I forgive him with my eyes. Thank you. Thank you to my family for coming and friends. And John, I'll congratulate you on your book. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people in various ways. I can't wait to read it myself, actually. I just want you to know that there are pockets of sunlight. You only just need to look and you will find them. So keep searching and they'll be there. Thank you.